Hey guys, my name is Vishal, and today we're talking about the iPhone 13. In this video, I want to tell you guys about my experience of having used the iPhone 13 as my daily driver for the last week. Now overall, I can say that the iPhone 13 is a pretty fantastic phone. It's fast, it's responsive, it looks pretty good, and it has really good performance thanks to the A15 Bionic chipset. But all of this is to be expected, and you can see it by just looking at the benchmarks. I'll even compare them to last year's benchmarks so you guys can see the difference between this and the iPhone 12. What I want to show you guys in this video is what this really means. I want to tell you guys about the 3 big changes that take this year's iPhone update from good to great, starting with the battery. So the iPhone 13 was advertised to have 1 more hour of battery life than the iPhone 12. Now this doesn't really tell you a whole lot. For instance, it doesn't tell you how long you could play video games on the iPhone 13, and it doesn't tell you how long you could watch videos on it. So I put that to the test. I conducted 3 tests to see how much battery life I could squeeze out of the iPhone 13. Each of my tests started with 100% battery and then ended when my phone died. The first test was focused on gaming. I tested 5 games, all with differing levels of usage on the processor and battery, and I played each game until 20% of my battery was depleted, and then I moved to the next game, and so on until my phone died. And guys, I was pretty tired after this because it took over 6 hours of gaming to kill the battery on the iPhone 13. The next set of tests that I did was to see how long I could watch videos on it, and so I put on one of my favorite YouTube playlists and just watched that until my phone died. And guys, this one took even longer. It took over 12 hours to completely drain my battery of just watching YouTube videos. Now the last set of tests I did was to see how daily usage would affect the battery on the iPhone, and basically I woke up, my phone was at 100%, and I used it as I would during a regular day, and I did this for 5 days to see what the average amount of battery that I had remaining at the end of the day was, and it turned out to be about 30% battery remaining at the end of every day. So I think overall the battery is pretty good, and I think the changes that Apple have made to the battery by making it a little bit larger has actually paid off in this case. Next, let's talk about the all-new camera system. The iPhone 13 comes with a wide and ultra-wide cameras on the back. Now these are diagonal because of Apple's sensor shift OIS technology, which allows for better image stabilization when you're taking pictures or videos. Now this will mean that you'll get better image quality even when you're not using a tripod or stand of some sort. These cameras have also gotten larger and more pronounced on the back of the iPhone, which has led to the largest camera bump that we've seen ever on an iPhone. Now unfortunately, this doesn't come with an increase in camera quality because both these rear cameras are still 12 megapixels with limited mechanical zoom capabilities. Now fortunately, the front camera has gotten an upgrade, and now it's moved over to 12 megapixels as well, and it really shows. Now I see that one of the other updates on here is that you can change your frame rate from HD 30 FPS all the way up to 4K 60 FPS, which is a huge quality of life feature, and it allows you to get very high quality videos even with the front facing camera on the iPhone 13. Speaking of FPS, the rear cameras now allow you to switch between 24, 30, and 60 FPS, which will make it easier to create video content and then bring that into the editing software of your choice. Now in addition to this, there are 2 new features that make this year's camera system the best that we've ever seen on iPhone. The first are photographic modes. You can now set up your camera as you would add a filter on top of an existing image. However, this isn't post-processing. It's built right into the camera, and the setting is embedded in the image. This means that you can now make your iPhone pictures look more saturated or warmer or cooler. You have 5 settings to choose from, and you can customize each of these settings to have your own custom look. And the best thing is that when you set a photographic mode, it stays that way until you decide to change it. Now the second camera feature is cinematic mode. And this one's kind of a hit and miss because although it does what it says on the box, the results are only okay at most. But first, let me explain how this works. Cinematic mode is kind of like portrait mode, only it's for video. And remember that issue with portrait mode where the blur was really computerized and the edges of objects looked funny? Well, it's back with cinematic mode. Now I have been able to play around with some of the settings and make some shots look pretty good, but it still looks computerized and overall seems kind of off. One of the cool things that you can do here is to change the aperture to increase or decrease the level of blur on your shot. This helps make some shots look pretty good in some cases, and the automatic detection changes the focus pretty well while you make a video. Overall, the cinematic mode on the iPhone 13 is good, Not great, but good, and I expect Apple to be making some updates as the software matures. Next, let's move away from the back of the iPhone and talk about the front display. The display this year is very similar to last year's. It has the same ceramic shield front glass and an oleophobic coating to reduce the number of fingerprints on the front screen. It also has the same pixel quality. Now, I'm not going to break this phone to show you guys the integrity of the front glass, but the oleophobic coating seems to be working to reduce the number of fingerprints, especially compared to the back of the iPhone. Now, there are two changes that I want to talk to you guys about that have made their way onto the front display. Number one is the brightness of the iPhone 13 screen. It now has the capability to go all the way up to 1200 nits of brightness when using HDR, but it's still limited to 800 nits of brightness when not using HDR, which is the same as the limit from last year. The other big change on the front is the notch. Now, Apple says it's 20% smaller than on previous iPhones, but it looks a lot closer to 40% smaller. One of the ways that Apple's been able to do this is by moving the speaker to the top of the notch stack. Now, it's not obvious, and I didn't notice this at first, but it does seem like even though the notch is a little bit less wide, it is taller. Now, those are all pretty great things about the iPhone, but there are a few things that I have noticed while using it over the last week that need some improvement. The first is the fit and feel, and it's something that I alluded to in my first impressions video, and that is the flat edge design. It's pretty sharp and really digs into your hands when you're holding the iPhone, so it's something that you're going to want a case for to smooth out that experience. Now, the other reason that you're going to want a case is because of the aluminum bands and the camera on the back. Now, the aluminum bands, because they are aluminum, are very prone to scratching, whether it's keys or a ring or some sort of, anything that bumps into this, you can easily create a pretty big scratch on the aluminum bands without even noticing it, without even doing too much. The other big thing is that when you put the put the iPhone down onto a table and you put it with the camera face down, the iPhone is resting on the lenses, and that's something that I don't know why Apple made that decision. I wouldn't want that for any of my cameras, that the iPhone rests on the lenses themselves, because those are very prone to scratching. The last thing that I don't really like or haven't gotten used to on the iPhone 13 are the placement of the buttons. They've moved slightly down, and I think that's because you need to be able to reach them easier. But I find that when I'm playing video games or something like that, it's very easy to accidentally press the volume buttons, or even if it's this way, it's very easy to press the power button as well, which puts an end to the gaming. Now, those are my thoughts of the iPhone 13, but I really do want to get your thoughts if you're having some of these issues as well, or what your experience has been with the iPhone. Alright, that's it for today's video. If you guys learned something about the iPhone 13 or are planning to get it, let me know down in the comments section below. If you guys liked today's video, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content like this. I will be doing a comparison between the iPhone 13 and the iPhone X, so stay tuned for that content as well. Thank you guys so much for watching and for the support on the channel so far. And I will see you guys in the next video.